is young, guaranteed, so they may be operating over the cap. This may be a sign and trade if indeed it's happening, so we're going to have to see all of that.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see on that. But, of course, Kyle Lowry, as you mentioned. Perk, we've been hearing these rumors of Kyle Lowry. Miami wants to join Jimmy Butler, wants to join Bam Adebayo. Why do you think he is, even though he is on the other side of what most people consider a prime in the NBA, why do you think, Perk? Oh, sorry, I've got producer Hillary in my ear saying we are going to be talking about Lonzo Ball. So let's go to the crank. Boom!
Oh, there you go.
Yeah! I will ask you more, Perk. Perk, I will ask you more about Kyle Lowry in a second, but let's talk about Lonzo Ball, that they have signed and traded, worked out that deal with the Pelicans, a 4-year deal. What do you think of that domino falling and how it will affect everything else, but especially the Chicago Bulls?
Well, you know what? I love this pickup by Chicago. I think Lonzo Ball, he needed to be somewhere where he was going to have the ball in his hands and be able to make plays for others. I thought playing with the Pelicans, he was always going to be under the shadows of Zion and Brandon Ingram. You pair him up with a guy like Vucevic that could pick, that could pop, that could roll to the basket. Now he has the keys. He's a big guard. His shot has improved. We already know what type of defender he is. And now we get to see Lonzo Ball break loose and show us the flashes of being that showstopper like his little brother is doing down there with the down there in Charlotte as what LaMelo is doing. So I actually love this move.
What do you think, Ramona?
Well, I'm curious.
By the way, we're all like looking. I just want to make the point. We're all like, look at the phone. Look at the phone.
Well, look, all day I've been hearing this could expand. It's not. It could be a sign and trade directly with New Orleans, but this could also turn into a three-way with Charlotte and Devontae Graham going to New Orleans. So let's see where this ends up and get the details on this because. Look, Lonzo Ball's a really good player. He improves his three-point shooting this year. He builds a great market for himself. And I think, Zach, we've all been watching this point guard market. Kyle Lowry is at the top of this market. Lonzo Ball is probably number 2 if we were looking at available players here. But now you start getting into, okay, what does this mean for Mike Conley? What does this mean for Chris Paul? What does this mean for Dennis Schroeder, for Spencer Dinwiddie, all the way on down the line? So once one domino falls, you can see where the market is for the.
In fact, as we've just said, Kyle Lowry, it's trending toward Miami. Of course, we don't know for sure yet. We will hopefully hear something about that in the next few minutes. But if Lonzo Ball is off to Chicago, where do you see the Pelicans filling in that point guard role? Even if Zion is more of a point center at times this upcoming season, like we saw last season, they still need a PG. Who do you think of the guys available they might want to bring in?
Well, a guy that could shoot the ball, Rachel, from the three-point line. A guy that could also, that you could play with the second unit who could create for himself and go get a bucket. And guess who that guy might be? Reggie Jackson. They call him hot sauce down there with the Clippers. He could definitely be hot sauce down there in New Orleans with all that catfish and crawfish etouffee, baby. So I would keep an eye on Reggie Jackson actually, signing with the Pelicans. It wouldn't be a bad fit.
Well, I know the Clippers have talked about holding on to him, but that is very intriguing. We also have news, our Tim McMahon reporting that, here we go, the crank. Sorry, Director Tommy's in my ear. Crank, yeah, there we go. We got a new deal. I got to announce it. Tim Hardaway, 4 years, $72 million back to Dallas, according to our Tim McMahon. I guess we do the crank, too, for re-signing, right? Why not? We're going to do the crank as much as possible today. What do you think, Zach, of them making that move, considering they were looking at a lot of space if they decided not to go with Tim, but he played so well for them this season?
He played really well, and I think they have very limited space left. This actually gives them a little bit because his salary is going to be lower than his cap hold, which is gigantic. But look, Tim Hardaway was a really good player for them. I think it indicates that plan A, whatever that was, and I think it was probably Kyle Lowry, fell through. And this is a nice fallback. They picked up Willie Cauley-Stein's option, so they don't have much flexibility left. I will be interested to see what they do with it because I think they are rightfully operating as a team that thinks, why not us? We have a top 5 or 6 player in the NBA.
Agreed.
We've pushed the Clippers to the brink 2 years in a row. We feel like we can contend for the championship immediately. So it'll be interesting to see what little wiggle room they have left. But I'd like to see, I think it's fair value for Tim Hardaway Jr., who I think I had on my 6 Man of the Year ballot last year.
Why not them, Ramona? But the roster has shown they didn't get past the Clippers
Correct.
either of those 2 years.
No.
So don't they need to make some tweaks here? You
Yeah,
can't just rely on Luka to keep getting
They can try.
better.
I mean, they have to get creative here. And Zach, I'm with you. I don't know why, if I'm a free agent, and let's say you're not getting the deal that you necessarily thought you were going to get. Let's say you're going in free agency and you thought you're going to get 15, 18 million, and the market's not there because it's a strange market this year. Why not go play with Luka Doncic for a year? My goodness, he's going to feed you some open shots. He's going to build those stats up. So I think the Mavs are still an attractive destination, but there's, as Zach explained, when they do this, they have cap space, but it's a little complicated.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
And, there are other ways they can.
They'd have to do sign and trades and things at this point.
Well, it certainly looked like when they traded Josh Richardson over the weekend, they were trying to free up some room. And Perk, we heard about Dallas in the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes. And by the way, they could still be in those sweepstakes. We haven't heard for sure where Kyle Lowry is going. What do you think Dallas's future is, Perk, though, if, say, with Tim Hardaway re-signed, they can make some little tweaks around the edges, but that they are largely the team that we saw last season?
Well, you know what? Just think about this. 2 years ago, I strongly believe that if Porzingis doesn't get hurt, that the Mavs would have beat the Clippers, right? You look at Luka and Porzingis in the bubble, when the way that they performed, they both was averaging 30 points a night, and they were playing terrific basketball together. Again, another voice, a different voice in the locker room with Jason Kidd. Now you could feature Porzingis even more. We have to remember, Porzingis with the New York Knicks, he was getting sets run for him. He was actually featured in the offense. Last year, we didn't see that as much. We saw him doing a lot of standing around the three-point line. He wasn't getting a lot of touches on the post area. He wasn't comfortable. Now, Jay Kidd and Rachel, we heard him on the jump talk about it. He said that Luka and Porzingis are a perfect match, and he's going to find a way to make it work. Well, one is that he's going to have to sit his young superstar down and have to tell him that, hey, look, we're going to have to use Porzingis. Look, you're going to have the ball 60% of the time, but I can't have you have the ball 80% of the time and passing it with 4 seconds left on the shot clock and telling your teammates to shoot the ball. That's just how it just can't work that way. And I think the Mavs are in a great position. I love this signing by Tim Hardaway Jr. He played well for them last season.
Yeah, and it definitely says something to other players around the league and on their own team. You reward the guys who play well for you. That is important in the way that players think of your franchise. It's an interesting problem to have of, like, how do you build around Luka? So many teams would love to have a Luka. So many teams would love to have a Zion Williamson. And we've got our Mark Spears, who will be back on the show in a little bit, filling out the Pelicans picture right now, talking about former LSU star Garrett Temple going back in that deal with Chicago, going to Louisiana. So as we talk about the Pelicans, Perk, who do you think and what do you think needs to happen with them? Because the fact that they didn't even make the play-in tournament this year seemed just so below expectations. How do you think they can improve around Zion Williamson? Maybe it's just on the court with coaching.
Well, I think, they waited too late in the season to actually put Zion Williamson at that point forward position.